So, hello everybody. Welcome once again at Kompakte Studio. For those of you which don't know me, I want to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Marcus. I'm from Germany and I'm a hairdresser and educator for more than 30 years now. Maybe you saw some of the videos I gave on my Instagram or Pinterest platform as a free education for you. 2 times a month we provide live sessions as well. So today we plan to do a very basic blunt haircut. And for the first time we have a real life model here, and I welcome Bina. Bina is one of my colleagues in salon, and she invests some time to get a very nice short blunt bob. If you want more information about the tools I use, about the scissors for example, you can go on my website, which is pointcutter.de, and can find a lot of more information, as well as about my workshops, which I do in the German language as well as in English language. If you are interested in online education, in real online education, you can go to the Udemy platform. At the Udemy platform, I offer several workshops in haircutting, from artist cutting to basic cutting. So you can find everything you need to work in salon, you can find there. A great overview you will get at my website about this online education as well. So now we're going to start with the haircut. And as you have in mind the picture I posted the last days, you can see we do a very straight, strong line about the chin. We start in the back with a little bit shorter and go diagonal forward to a longer point around the face. When you take a closer look to the patterning I did in advance, you can see I have a contour sectioning done. This contour sectioning helps me a lot to get a very good control about my line. And when I start doing the haircut now, I start from the face through the nape. Most of you will use to a different way. They start from the nape and go through the face. But if you take a closer look about the line, then you have, for this blunt bob, you have a straight diagonal line here in the sides, and in the nape area you have a concave line. And if you analyze this, you understand that the concave line is much more difficult to cut than the diagonal straight line. So at the end, it's easier to walk from the face through the nape. So, can you please stand up, Ina? We turn to the side so that the audience, we go a little bit more backwards.
Yeah.
So, we turn a little bit. So. And then we start here at the side area. Before I do the cut, maybe I explain why we decided to go for a blunt bob. First of all, Bina is a very classical lady. She likes to have a classical haircut. She is not interested in having a fancy, artistic slice and point cutting hair. She wants to have a clear outline. That was the message she gave me in advance. In addition to this, we see she has a very fine and limp hair. So we decided to do a recoloring using Dia Recherche from L'Oreal to give the hair a little bit more darkness, to give more volume and more body through the hair before we do the haircut. The solid form we're going to cut is a form which gives lots of volume, maximum volume to fine and limp hair. So that is the reason why we decide this classical haircut is really perfect for her. And he fits for her face shape perfect as well. So this is the reason we decide before we're going to start this haircut. So if you're going to do a blunt haircut, it's also important to use the right scissor. If you have only one, maybe an English cutting scissor, this is a kind of scissor you can use for everything. But for this special haircut, I use a blunt cutting scissor. A blunt cutting scissor means that the scissor blades are a little bit more steep against each other. So the cut will be very straight and very strong. That's the big difference against an English cutting scissor. But of course, you can do this haircut with an English cutting scissor with no problems. Now, when you start, take care, especially when you have such a fine and limp hair, take care that the hair is wet enough. And then you comb the hair in the natural fall. Talk to your client about the right length and start cutting the diagonal line from the side through the nape area. And the contour sectioning helps you a lot, taking control about the outline. Because this outline is the most important point in your haircut. And if you can, try to do it with scissor under comb and not to hold the hair with your fingers. When you do it that way, the line will be much stronger and more clear. So now we turn to the other side and do the same as well. We comb the hair, take care about the ear, that we have not too much pressure on the hair. And then we start cutting the diagonal line. Starting from the side, going back to the nape. Before I finish the nape, I taken care that the length on both sides is totally exact. So I do a little correction on this side, because we have no mirror here. If you have a mirror in salon, it's much easier for you to take control about the length. When we now turn the head a little bit more, then you see in the middle of the nape area, there's still some hair. And I make the connection between both sides now. I fix the hair with my comb and cut it short. When I begin doing such a blunt bob, I take care that the head of my client in salon is totally straight up. That's a natural position. You will see how I continue this blunt haircut later on, because then I switch the position of the head. So, now the baseline is finished, and we're going to continue with partonings from the nape and we work from the nape area through the side. And now when I'm done with my first section, I push the head a little bit forward and cut the next sections on the skin freehand. If you like, you can fix it with the comb, but it's not necessary. This will give you a lot of control about the swirls you might have in the nape area. Because for such a classical haircut, it's so important that your line is 100% perfect. So take your time and finish every line before you continue with the next one. I turn her a little bit around and then you can see I comb the hair on the skin, but give no pressure through the hair. Cut this very exactly. If you do it that way, you take a lot of control about the swirls nearly every client in your salon might have. So, then we turn a little bit around and we take the next section. It's still concave. As an orientation, you do the sectioning in the nape area very close to the contour line you cut. This helps you taking control about your hairline. And I comb the hair still through the nape. I give not too much pressure because I want to take control about the swirls. And I continue cutting exactly to my guideline. When I finish this line, we want to analyze together what is the result of this line when Bina will brings your button back to her natural position. Okay, so we go back. As you might see, we have a little overlapping here from this the hair in this area over my guideline in the contour area. So that means that we have a few millimeters in length more, which helps us taking control about the swirls. So now you can comb the hair again, fix it with your comb, and can cut it once again, and in this way you are on the safe side that you will definitely not in trouble with any swirls in the nape area. This is a pretty easy workflow you can use for every solid form. So we are totally done with this now. And we continue cutting the next sections. And what I often saw when I visit salons and take a look at other hairdressers, how they cut, there is one big mistake. And I want to let you know what I think, how you can solve this mistake. Because if you continue your workflow pushing the head forward and cut every hair on this guideline, and your client will come up with his head, which is the normal position, you will get a turnout of the tips of the hair. This is not what you want to get. You want to have a very straight form here. So it's important when you finish the nape area that you came back to the natural position and continuing cutting the line, the blunt bob line, in the natural position. So now we turn around a little bit. So, okay. And now I stop with comb the hair on the skin. Now I fix it between my fingers. I comb in the natural fall, I fix it between my fingers and cut it straight through the guideline. And now you can see that we have a totally 100% perfect line in the nape, and the swivels in the nape area doesn't matter at all. Should we go a little bit more to the wall?
Yeah, if you can.
Okay. So now I do that on the other side as well. I comb the hair in the natural fall. Look, where is my guideline? And cut the hair through my guideline. Now we go to the next section. The wideness of each section depends how thick is the hair. Bina has a finer limb hair, so the section is about 1 or 1.5 centimeters. If you have a thicker hair, it's better to use smaller sections. But don't make the mistake that you take too wide sections when the hair is fine like hers. Because it's also important that you cut every single section really in the natural form. And do not give too much pressure on the hair. You have hold it clearly, but don't give pressure. So I continue in the nape area. I hold the hair between my fingers. And I continue with my workflow. As an educator, I trained in the last 30 years thousands of people from the beginning in their career for the first steps, and this is always the first haircut I do with them. We always start doing a solid blunt bob, because this is a very perfect haircut. You can learn to cut clearly a guideline, you follow the line, you see how the line goes, and you get a feeling for the pressure and for the comb direction of the hair. So if you start learning haircutting, the blunt bob is a perfect beginning. In early June, we will present a new online workshop at Udemy called Basic Cutting. And this blunt bob is the first haircut we're gonna do there. So if you want to sign in for an online training, you can go to the Udemy platform and in early June, the workshop will be there. So now I'm in a position that I can cut the line on the side as well, and as you can see, I work first one side of the haircut and then I continue with the other side. This is another easy way to be fast and perfect with this blunt bob. Think about how we started. We started with a contour sectioning around the hairline. We start making the baseline from the face through the nape. We connected both sides in the nape area. Then we put the head forward. We cut two sections with the head forward to take control about the swirls in the nape and about the line we create in the nape area. Then we come back to the natural position. We work the whole neck area till this position we reach now, where we have the possibility to continue with our sectioning through one side. So that means that we now cut one side to the end, and then we come back to the other side and finish this one. So that's much easier. You have not to work so much around the head. So you stand in more or less one position and follow the same direction. That makes it easier for you to cut this. So I comb the hair still in the natural fall, and the natural fall does not mean push your fingers through the skin. It means hold the hair like it really falls natural. I only fix it, not too much pressure, and then I start cutting my blunt bob line. When you work around the ear, you invest a little attention that you give no pressure at the hair when you comb it over the ear. But don't invest too much in that, because if you cut the next sections, you will create a fine line if you have no pressure on the hair. The ear problem always comes to you if you comb the hair with a high pressure. So I go step by step. For my haircuts, I use a special kind of a water bottle, because this bottle does not apply too much water at the hair. That helps a lot, that you have a good kind of wetness, but no drops coming down. So for a blunt bob, it's really important that the wetness of the hair is still the same the whole haircut. Otherwise, you get fine graduations in your haircut, which are not helpful for a perfect result. So I use my fine water bottle every single section. And then I start always from the nape, combing the hair in the natural fall, and cut it through my guideline. If you are interested in joining my basic cutting workshop, which comes out in June, you have also the possibility to stay in touch at Instagram or Pinterest, because I will post parts of the training on my accounts as well. Or you go through my website and then you get further information about the basic cutting. When I now move forward to the top of the head, I change my comb, because in the nape area, in the beginning, I used the fine side, the finer side. Now I turn it and use the bigger ones, because this helps me to avoid pressure on the hair. Pressure on the hair means when you dry it later on, the hair goes up a little bit and your line will not be perfect. So if I reach the area maybe 2 or 3 centimeters higher than the ear, around this area, then I change it and I take the wider side.
The comb.
The comb, okay. Now I move on to the top of the head. I have no more hair in the nape area. It starts around the ear, and I cut this through my guideline in the blunt cutting technique. As you might see, I had a side parting in the beginning, because Bina loves to have a side parting, and that's the reason why we decide to do it a little bit asymmetrical in the front area. So this will function as an eye catcher, which gives this haircut a little bit more fashionable feeling, and that's the reason why we decide for this version. But you can do it from a center parting as well. So comb the hair very exactly. Take care about the natural fall. Use a water bottle with really fine water drops. So, now the blunt bob, the outline is done. We move through the other side using the same way of cutting. And I do this on the other side, so I have my water bottle always with me. And then we can continue. When you're doing such a blunt bob, one issue is coming up, and this issue means how you have to move around the head when you're doing the haircut. I turned it a little bit around and I want to explain it. When I'm starting and cutting in the nape area, I'm standing in the position behind my client. When I continue and cutting the side area, I'm moving around. And this is always the same. It doesn't matter if you cut a blunt bob or a graduated bob or a long bob or any other bob form. One of the biggest mistakes somebody can make is standing always behind it and comb the hair back through the nape. That means you get more length through the face, but you will always get a lot of graduation or layering. It depends how you cut, but this is not something you want to have with such kind of haircut. We need a really solid form, and to get this solid form you have to move around in small steps around the head. As you are used to our live sessions, we will post the results of the blow drying, the result of the haircut in the next half an hour after we finish with the cut. And I also will provide you the graphics of this haircut as well. So you had the best opportunity to use everything what I explained here, and you might have the opportunity to watch the haircut once again. Of course, we will post shorter versions without any explanation on my account as well. So as a reminder, how the way is working, how the workflow is, you can use the shorter version as well. The shorter versions of this haircut will be finished in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So, and keep in mind, if you want to learn the English way of haircutting, you can go on my website and find many other workshops, many other haircuts, especially our latest one, which is the layered workshop. This is one workshop I really love. Long layers, short layers, strong layers, medium layers. So we did different versions, and we provide this workshop, I think 2 weeks now, at the Udemy platform. And if you decided to book this workshop, you will get a certificate for it as well. And if you are more interested in the scissors I use, you can also get information about this on the website pointcutter.de. Especially when you're interested in the different kinds of hair cutting scissors, blunt cutting scissors, slice cutting scissors, or English hair cutting scissors, as well as different types of texturizing scissors. So, now the blunt bob is nearly finished. We have only one thing to do. So, Ina, take a seat please. And we try to be in the center. Okay, perfect. And we turn around through the side. And this is something your client will be very thankful to you if you do that. Because what I'm doing now is to round it up, the top of the hair, only a little bit, to give the hair a little bit more movement to turn inside. This is the really important point. So I start with pivotal partonings from the top of the head. Change position or we fine? Okay. So I only take the top of the head and round it up a little bit. You see, it's less than 1 centimeter. Only to help my client to get a better control about the movement of the hair. When you stop haircutting, after finishing the blunt line, you will always have a very straight, perfect line, but the tip of the hair will always go out. And if you ask your client, I would say 90% of them want to have a little bit more turn inside. And this is what we are doing now. We only take the hair at the top of the head. We comb it in a horizontal angle, and the finger position is a little bit round. It's not straight, it's a little bit rounded. And then we round it up a little bit to give a very exact fall and a soft turn for the tips to go inside. Don't take too much hair. Keep in mind, especially Ina's hair is very fine. If you go too deep into the contour hair, you lose too much weight, too much volume. I comb parts by part, separate. I take a look and round it up a little bit with a rounded finger position. Always keep in mind not to remove too much length. Otherwise, you create a graduation, and that's definitely something you don't want. These techniques you cannot control because you can't see it. It's not there. It's only something when the haircut is blow dried. It gives the tips of the hair a little movement inside. I do the same on the other side as well. I start in the nape area with pivotal partingings, and when I go forward through the face, I use vertical partingings. So this is the last pivotal parting, and you can see in the nape area I have a little bit more hair to cut. When I go through the sides, I switch into vertical partingings. I really take a little bit of hair and I have not so much length to cut. So, this is the blunt bob, and there's one more last thing to do before I can make the blow dry. And this is when the hair is more dry, to control my outline in the nape. And you can see with the techniques I used in the beginning, it's very exact. I don't need a hair cutting machine to make the line exact. It is from the way I do. But especially when you have a client which have fine baby hair here, like she has, there's an opportunity you can use to give the client a little bit more control about this hair around the face. What I have to do now is to change my scissor into a slice cutting scissor, which does not mean that I start slicing out this hair, because it's definitely too fine. So what I'm gonna do is to round this line, this hair around the face, a little bit more up, because otherwise the length here, it's only a small number of hair, and this edgy form might be a problem for her when she's doing the blow drying. So I round it up a little bit and connect it with this baby hair. We have it here around the hairline at the face. You see why is it so important to have a very fine water bottle for this? If you use a big one, to have, you make the client totally wet in the face. So you comb the hair. Oh, can you please stand up? So we comb the hair in the same position, which it will be after the blow drying. We use the slice cutting scissor around the face and remove some of this longest lengths here in a very slow movement. So we remove a little weight here, but this gives her more control about this length and more connections through the baby hair around the face. So it's really a little bit. As well, you have the opportunity to talk to your client if this asymmetrical line is fitting for her or not. There's another opportunity you can do and make a connection between this shorter part to the longer part. But for her, I like this small asymmetrical form because it gives a little weight and a little bit more fashion through this haircut. So, what we're gonna do now is doing a quick blow drying to make some pictures, and we post it in my stories so you can see the final result, how it's looking. And we also posting the cutting graphics like I promised. So you get the whole information about this haircut, that you can maybe repeat it. You can watch the video we will have on Instagram TV or on YouTube as well. Or you have the opportunity to take a look at the smaller videos we will provide in the next 1 or 2 weeks. If you are interested in doing a basic cutting workshop, so go on my website. We start with it early June. And you can find now all other types of haircut, maybe the long layered workshop, the undercut workshop, and many different other types of workshop. So, if you are like these kind of live sessions, we do it 2 times a month, and we will inform you as soon as possible when we do the next session. And we plan every month to do 1 artistic cutting and 1 basic cutting. So last time we did an artistic haircut. Today we did a basic haircut. Next time, I promise, we will do artistic haircutting, of course. So you can decide what kind of education is the best for you and how I can help you. So thanks a lot for your attention. I hope you come back. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to send me direct messages. I answer you as soon as possible, I promise. So, hope to see you. Bye, yours Markus.